You're on.
Welcome to another interview for the Kansas City Garment Industry Project. Today is September 1st, 2011. I'm John Dvorak, and I'm interviewing ANITA Daniels, whose husband Harry was president of Kap-Pel's Fabrics, a prominent business in the Kansas City garment industry. Thank you for sitting with us today. Why don't you start off by telling us how you met your husband and what his connections to the garment industry were?
Well, he didn't have any before he went to work for Kap-Pel. He had come out of the Army and went in business with his father. And his father sold job lots, and it didn't make my husband very happy, so he left. And then he heard about someone leaving Kap-Pel, and he thought he would go get the job, and he did. He borrowed the money from Sam Kaplan to buy the car and to get the job. And that's where it all started.
And that was before you met him.
Yes,
Now your husband's name was what?
Harry Daniels,
And when did Mr. Daniels die?
4 years ago.
I see. And Sam
Kaplan
Kaplan was the owner of the company.
with Sam Peltzy. They were partners.
What did your husband do for the company at the start when he was using the car?
Went on the road. He traveled every third week. They went to the little towns and sold fabric to the retail stores and manufacturers.
Tell us a little bit about the business. They were not retail, they were strictly wholesale?
Strictly wholesale.
And what types of companies would they do business with?
The retail fabric stores and department stores like Jones and Macy's, and manufacturers. And then they sold the fabric to hospitals to make their gowns in the hospitals.
Do you know where they got their fabric?
Well, from different manufacturers, and it came from this country until it went overseas. Everything went overseas. The fabrics were designed and made overseas.
Did your husband have sort of a circuit then in the Midwest that he would travel, or how did he decide where to go?
Well, his territory was Kansas City, Iowa, Nebraska, and then it blossomed into Florida, California, New York, Chicago. And he used to fly to those places.
So the company really was a national company then? I see. When did you meet your husband?
In the summer after my junior year at college. He saw me at a baseball game. I had a date with somebody else, and he told his friend that they were going to someplace to watch Al Rosen play, and he was going to call me when he got back. In the meantime, his friend called me, and I went out with him, and then they got a little perturbed with each other. And then when he came back, he called me, and that was it.
That's a great story. Did you break up their friendship?
No, they still became friends.
What year would that have been?
Probably 49 and 50.
And at that time, he would have been with Kap-Pel's a couple of years, maybe.
I think he was there 2 years.
Did you know anything about the garment business at that time?
No, I knew the names. It was Brandon Puritz and Pachter Garment Company. In fact, Regina Pachter lives next door, but she's not in town. She knows a lot about it.
So you married in what year?
50.
And then did your husband continue to travel around?
Mhm. Every third week.
He would be gone for a week out of every month? Or a week out of every 3 weeks? How was the business going in the 50s?
It was very well. Polyester came in to view. Polyester was wonderful for the business.
Did he sell all kinds of fabrics, wools, cottons, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And then polyester came along and helped the business?
And ultra suede, when that came in.
What did he like about the business?
Well, he liked traveling, and he just liked the business. I don't know.
He rose up through the business.
Mm-hmm.
Did he go step by step, or was it a quick rise? Or
No, when Sam Pelcy died, Sam Kaplan decided to let the salesman buy a part of the business. So they became stockholders in the business.
oh, it became kind of an employee-owned business?
Well, he had the majority, Sam. And he had,
But the employees had some stock. And so your husband was, in effect, a part owner?
Mhm.
I see. Do you recall approximately how many people the company employed in the 50s?
Yes. My husband and Al Gladstone. I think those were the two salesmen. And then Jerry Zobel came in. So they were 3.
Just a very small number of employees then?
Well, no, those are the salesmen.
Oh.
They had a lot of employees in the place.
Where were they located?
On 8th and Broadway, and then they bought a building on Front Street.
Would they have stored a lot of fabric in the building then, or how did that work? Did
Well,
did they have fabric come in as they sold it, or did they have a stock?
They had a big stock. They had wire containers that held the stock, and they had a lot of stock.
Now, I take it the business expanded after World War II and into the 50s and moved out around the country.
Mm-hmm.
So business was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Company was profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Was it fun for your husband and the salesman? Did they enjoy it?
Mm-hmm. He did.
What did he enjoy about it?
I don't know. Well, Sam was a great teacher. He was a self-made man and very interested in the arts. And he got my husband interested in the arts. He was an opera lover and a concert lover and ballet.
So your husband rose to become president. Was Sam still a part of the business at that point?
No.
Well, how did that all transpire? What happened?
Well, I think Sam passed away. I don't remember.
But Sam died at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then was that the point where your husband became president?
I think so.
How long did your husband serve as president approximately? Many years?
Probably 7 or 8, 10.
I see. Did he still travel around selling at that point, or was he more of a stay in the office type?
No, he traveled.
Did you ever travel with him?
Mhm. When my younger son went to college, then I started traveling with him.
Tell us how it was like out on the road. What did he do? Did he have very specific places where he would go, or was he making
No.
cold calls, or how did that work?
No, he had specific customers, and he went to those customers. And then his territory expanded to California and New York and Chicago. And
Would he take fabric samples with him, or did they know what they wanted to buy? Or?
they had little swatches on cards. And they took the samples with them.
So he had a whole passel of cards that he was taking with him? How big were they?
Well, they fit in a briefcase. So.
Oh, I see. Did you have any role ever in the business?
No.
You didn't work there.
No.
So your husband was with the company for about how long?
52 years.
When did he leave the company?
Well, he didn't. They had to close the company down. Both Sam and Helen both died. And then they left their money to like a bank, a trust. And they didn't want the business to go on. So they just closed it up.
So your husband did not own enough of the business to be a sole owner, to keep it operating then?
No, I think the business was going down because fabrics died out.
That would have been about when? About the mid-1990s or somewhere in there? Well, what happened towards the end? There just was there more competition or less interest in fabric, or?
Well, yes. The interest in fabric waned because stores like Walmart and Kmart came in, and you could go and buy an item and throw it away cheaper than you could make it. And all the fabric was coming from overseas, so it was not good for the fabrics.
And of course, the big garment manufacturers in the Kansas City area gradually disappeared, I guess, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. How did your husband feel about that? Did he talk much about how that part of the industry was kind of dying off?
Well, it was very, very hard for them. It was like a part of us was dying.
Did he talk about it much?
No. Well, he retired when they closed the business, which wasn't good.
So it was kind of hard there towards the end.
Well, there's no fabric shops left. There's not a lot of interest in sewing.
When did you first begin to realize that business was not doing well? Was it some years before they closed? Was it kind of a slow decline?
No, they managed to have enough business to keep going, but the banks wanted them to close the business. where they left their money.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want the business to go on. Well, they would have, I think they would have kept going if it wasn't for them.
They could have found enough places to sell fabric. Did your husband, was he upset about the changes in the industry that caused businesses to fall off, or did he kind of just accept it as the evolution of the industry, or how did he feel about it?
I think it was like an evolution.
So it wasn't like he was angry or anything?
No. I think it was time for him to stop. But he had a good time while it lasted.
What did he do after he retired?
Not much.
Enjoyed retirement?
Mm-mm. No.
You didn't enjoy retirement?
Mm-mm.
Why not?
Well, he had no hobbies. I mean, he had worked from the time he was 14 years old, so work was his life. So, and then he started to get sick. He had ended up with Alzheimer's.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, he must have been a pretty good salesman to
He was.
stay for 50 years in the company.
He enjoyed that.
Could he have sold other things, do you think, or did he have a particular love for fabric?
I think so. I think he did.
Do you think he could have sold other things if that had been the way it worked out, or?
I imagine.
But he was particularly good with fabric.
Mm-hmm.
Did you buy some of it and sew?
I sewed very little for my children when they were small. But I didn't like the mess that it created, so I had to finish what I was doing right away. I stayed up all night and finished what I was making.
Couldn't leave it for the next day, huh? Had to get it done.
Well, I guess not too many women sew anymore. Maybe it's just too nerve-wracking.
I guess there's a few dressmakers that still.
Well, the company closed down in about what year?
In the 90s, I don't remember when.
Were there other companies in town that did what they did, or were they kind of the only one?
I think so. They were the only ones.
Did they try to sell the name of the company or anything, or did it just close completely and that was that?
Mm-hmm.
There's another company around with the name of Kaplan's, but that's not connected.
No, that's on the plaza. That's a retail.
And that had no connection to your...
He was a brother to Sam.
Okay.
Sam opened a wholesale, and Abe went into the retail business.
But there was no relationship between the companies. You know, a lot of people don't know that Kansas City was once a big garment manufacturer. The industry has pretty well disappeared in the United States, not totally. Do you think we should be doing more to try to preserve the history of it?
Mm-hmm. I think it was terrible that everything went overseas. And we had a wonderful manufacturing business. Kansas City was very big.
Could anything have been done to save the industry, do you think?
I don't know. I think that labor was so inexpensive overseas, and money takes care of everything.
Do you think many younger people realize what part garment making had in Kansas City's history?
No. I think that people that were in the manufacturing business are probably dying off.
Do you ever see any of them? Do you have friends still from the industry?
Yeah, we do.
Are very many of them left?
The women, not the men.
Well, that's because you're a tougher,
Oh, we are.
a tougher
Must
group.
be.
When you see people that you knew in the heyday of the industry, do you talk much about the old days, or is that all in the past?
No, it's so long ago. And we were not really involved with the manufacturing people.
Seems like ancient history almost.
Another lifetime.
Now, did you and Mr. Daniels have children?
Mhm.
How many children did
2
you?
boys.
Did they have any interest in the garment
Well,
industry?
my younger son worked there until it closed. He was traveling on the road. He was a salesman,
What is his name?
Robert. And my older son, Richard, was in New York. And he was not interested. But he's done very well.
What has Robert done since he left the company?
Well, it took him a year to find a job. I mean, he waited pretty heavily, and then he went to work for Freight Quote. It's a Kansas City company that sells freight. And so it was in his interest, you know. So they have a better price on freight, and they make it easier for the customers.
Did he really enjoy the garment industry, do you know, when he was in it?
Well, he didn't like traveling. He was not like his father.
So he didn't have the love for the industry that your husband had?
Mhm.
I see. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Kap-Pel's?
I don't believe so.
Are you concerned that the memory of it is going to disappear?
It probably will.
Well, we'll work to keep it alive in our little niche of things.
Okay.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Do you know what, we're done videoing.
Okay.
Do you know what Sybil's plans are for